What's going on, everybody? It's Dr. Chris Featherstone here yet again for yet another episode of Unscripted. It's Tuesday night. You know what that means. It's one of my favorite nights of the week. And this week is no different, ladies and gentlemen, with the hottest wrestlers from today and yesteryear. This week is no different, ladies and gentlemen. He is the super hot in the Mexican scene right now. He was amazing in WWE, former NXT Tag Team Champion. You may know him in the States as Sin Cara, but he is, ladies and gentlemen, Cinta de Oro. How are you tonight, my man?
Hey, what's up, brother? I'm very happy to be with you guys tonight, and I'm ready to answer questions that the fans have for us. And I'm just excited that wrestling, is back on its feet. I got to work this past weekend in Fort Worth, Texas, so I'm just excited. So let's do it, brother.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, it's things. I'm an Ohioan, and as of 55 minutes from right now, the mask restriction is lifted. So social distancing is done. So as of tomorrow, Wednesday, June the 2nd, no more masks, no more social distancing. Our numbers actually went down one day this weekend. There's 12 million people in Ohio, and their cases went down to 400, under 400 one day. So things are getting better. Yeah,
yes, definitely.
Yeah, it seems like we're finally getting rid of this craziness.
The people don't get to wear a mask. I get to wear a mask still.
You get to wear a mask. You will continue to put the mask over. Your mask is cool, not the ugly ones that are either blue, black, or white. So yeah, absolutely. All right, my man. Before we get to the questions, man, go ahead and plug any upcoming stuff that you got going on.
Yeah, well, I have a show coming up on June the 18th. I'll be in Oklahoma City. So with Phoenix Promotions and Adrenalina. So I'm just excited. Slowly things are getting back into the swing of things. July 31st at Pain Arena, McAllen, Texas.
Nice.
We have an amazing show over there also. And there's some works of Nación Lucha Libre in Mexico also coming up in August, where hopefully we're going to start doing television over there. So,
nice.
A lot of things are on our way. It's been a while since since I've been doing things in the wrestling world. I've been doing other stuff outside that. Mm-hmm. But I'm just excited to be able, to perform for the people. That's why that was my main focus when I left WWE, because I wanted to perform for them. But unfortunately, COVID happened, and everything, all the plans that I had stopped. But that also helped me focus on other stuff. I'm a full time father, so I was
Oh,
able to spend.
nice.
So I mean, I've been able to spend a lot of time with my kids. I have my kids for a week, and then the mom for another week. So during that week, I cook, I iron their clothes,
Yeah,
everything that I have to do as a dad, and it's just been amazing. I've learned a lot of things about my kids, what they like, what they don't like. So I think that for me that was the biggest blessing. Even
yeah,
though obviously we went through a lot, but my career has taken a nice path now.
yeah.
I'm becoming a writer. I'm writing a couple books also,
Okay.
a motivational book and a kids book. So
Nice.
so I'm
Nice,
excited
man.
about those two projects. It's not a biography. A lot of people were asking me if it was a biography. It's not a biography. It's actually this book talks a little bit of my experiences as a young kid, as a teenager, and how certain situation in my life, how I overpassed them through my faith.
Hmm.
I'm a man that believes in God. I respect every religion,
Likewise.
everybody that what they believe in. But for me, that's been my strength throughout my whole career, throughout my whole process of my life. When I've
Hmm.
been to trouble, when I've been through certain situations when you don't feel you're gonna be able to overcome. And I
Hmm.
found out a lot about myself during this pandemic. I found out that I was stronger than I ever thought I was. I found out
Wow.
that I'm more emotional now than I ever thought I was. I think as you get older, you have kids, you tend to
Yeah.
become, I guess, your feelings a little more out there. I always tell this to my kids every day. I love you. I text them and I say, I love you when they're not with me. When they're with me, every day, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I think that's the thing that I've tried to always emphasize in my kids because
Yeah.
I've been away for so long in their lives, from
Hmm.
traveling and getting to wrestling, getting to perform for the people, and it's something that I love. But also, you miss out on a lot of things, and they have missed out on their dad for many days, many times. And I
Yeah.
just want them to know that no matter what happens, no matter what I've been through, no matter the whatever I've done in my life, their dad loves them. So
Yeah.
for me,
That's awesome, man.
that's been a great thing for me this past year.
Yeah. That's great, man. That's motivational in and of itself. How old are your kids?
My son is 12. He's in love with wrestling. my,
Nice.
my daughter's 7, and
Okay.
she goes to train sometimes with us. I take my son to train with me,
Hmm.
and then I'll take my daughter, and she gets in the ring and does the moves and everything. But I think my son's the one that's really into it. So
Nice.
hopefully,
Nice.
hopefully he'll debut in a few years, and I want to be able to be there with him.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that you boldly mentioned that you're a man of faith. I am as well. I've been in ministry for 23 years now. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I share your sentiments there. So that's great to hear, man. So, all
Awesome.
right, man. You ready to dig into these questions?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right. Start with Guillermo. Why did you never join 205 Live? I mean, you're wrestling in 205 segments of Raw. And then je parle
Es, es,
français. No
es en
hablas
Spanish.
español.
Porque nunca te uniste a 205 Live. Quiero decir que estabas luchando en los segmentos de tu. Well, the thing is that they tried to put me in 205 Live, but I was way bigger than the guys that were doing 205. I wasn't weighing over 205, but I looked bigger than 205 because I'm about 5'11",
Yeah.
and then with the boot on, I was about 6'6", 6
Hmm.
feet, 6'1", and I was a little stockier. So I think in the sense of me being in 205, I was a little more stocky, bigger. I was a little stronger than the guys that were
Yeah.
there. So they tried to put me in there for a couple of times, but I didn't feel it was me. And I also felt like, I mean, I know a lot of those guys had a lot amazing matches, and they were in a sense given a little more freedom to do their matches because people expected them to do all this crazy high flying stuff. And
Yeah.
I can still do all kinds of stuff like that, but for me, I think I wanted to wrestle the top guys in a sense, right? Being able to try and get the IC title, the heavyweight title,
Yeah.
and that was what I was looking forward to. But I never got really the opportunity when they would try to do a 5 live. After that, I think Vince said that I looked too big for 205, so they only left me there for a couple segments and they took me out.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that too. I mean, you were towering over a lot of the people in 205 Live. You looked like a heavyweight there in 205
Yeah,
Live. Yeah.
that's
So
right.
I agree. Guillermo, once again, Scott, yeah, the doctor's in. Thank you. You were the first Mexico, but why did you had to stop using a Mexico? Uh, Porque dejas de usar el nombre de Místico. I hope I didn't butcher that too much.
No, 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 no. Dice, ¿por qué dejas de usar el nombre de místico? And I debuted November 21st of 1999 in Ciudad Juarez as Místico. I
Mhm.
have pictures. I have magazines. I have a lot of things. Like even this what is it called here? These tickets they're signed by Villano Tercero in Atlantis, Mass versus Mass. They see para Místico, and that was way
Nice.
before the Místico from Mexico debuted. He debuted in 2005. These tickets are from 2000. Can you imagine? So they say
Wow.
my name, and unfortunately, when I was starting my career, I never registered the name because I didn't know about the politics about wrestling that you have to go through trademark and all kinds of things, copyrights, and I never did it. Unfortunately, my way of life, they took it and made it into a character. They made this mystical character into a gimmick in a sense,
Hmm.
right? But why am I saying this? Because during that time in my life, I was doing missionary trips. I was very involved in church, and so the name Místico came about that. They say when we pass away, los místicos are the ones they take us to the presence of God. They guide you to that's what they místico means. And
Mm.
so the name came about what I was doing during that time in my life. I used to get on the buses. I used to be on the streets preaching. I used to like,
Wow.
we used to do missionary trips up in Guanajuato, Morelia, in the south of Mexico, where there's less than 1% of Christians,
Wow.
and so that's what the name came about. So then in 2005 they started announcing this new character coming out in Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, and unfortunately, it wasn't me; it was him. And then I remember that I have programs, I have magazines, a lot of stuff, and I sent it over. I faxed it over to the company. I found out the fax number. I sent it over. I spoke with a couple people there, but they said they didn't remember me because I did some dates for Consejo Mundial before I ever went a few years
Mm.
before that. And unfortunately, everything came about. But at the end of the day, I think I won in that sense. When I took over the Sin Cara character, and
Mhm.
it was Mystico was the first Sin Cara. I was the first Mystico, and then he was the other Mystico, right? And then
Yeah.
when in WWE he became the first Sin Cara, and then I
Yeah.
took over the character. So
It was
the
reversed.
papers changed, yeah. And I remember they called it Divine Justice. That's what they
Mm.
called it. And
Yeah, I
it was
was
pretty
thinking
pretty
that's
crazy.
yeah, I was thinking that same thing. Like you came in as Sin Cara Negro, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like so you came in as the kind of like the
Imposter.
second Sin Cara or the copy, so to speak, and he was the copy Mystico, but
Exactly.
he kind of won the first time, but then you won ultimately because you end up keeping the Sin Cara name. Was it the fact that as far as you keeping the Sin Cara name, was it you being bilingual? Did that help a lot as far as you retaining that character as opposed to um, the Mexico, the other Mexico?
I think it had to do a lot of things, obviously with the language too, but the way that I perform. Obviously, I was able to perform in a sense that my opponent didn't have to carry me in the sense like now he wrestles under Caristico. He
Jalisco, yeah.
he yeah he's a great wrestler.
Hmm.
Nothing against it. We all have our styles, but I think his style is more like the other guy has to carry him, throw him around, and with
Yeah.
me, I'm able to run the ropes, hit myself into springboard, into the crossbody, springboard, into moonsault. I don't have to use my opponent to carry me. I'm able to do my
Hmm.
own moves around and high flying stuff. And I think also like being a little stronger helped a lot with picking up the big boys that I was working with. So
You had a stronger ground game than he did. You know, what I
yeah,
mean, he was just kind of high flyer all the time. So yeah.
yeah, I wrestled in high school. I was a state champ in high school, very high school in El Paso, Texas. So I was a state champ in Texas. I was undefeated, 35-0. I was voted the MVP of a state tournament.
Nice.
I wrestled in national. I wrestled in a university. So I obviously did my it took me a lot of years to get to where I wanted to become a professional wrestler. It took me eight
Hmm.
years to debut as a professional wrestler. Nowadays, I don't know how kids train nowadays, but I know it's a lot less time. Now they want to make singers, wrestlers in 3 months, and it's just
Yeah.
unfortunately that they think this job is easy, but no, it took me a long time to be able to, to get the basics of what I was doing. But also that helped me a lot to be able to perform with anybody. I was able to work
Hmm.
with anybody that they would, allow me to in WWE or even outside that. I wrestled for Sin Cara, I wrestled for Ring of Honor, I wrestled for
Hmm.
NWA, I wrestled for AAA. So I did the whole in the scene before I ever got to WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, did you prefer to wrestle as Hunico or Sin Cara?
Uh, I love Unico. I love Unico because Unico, it was like, I guess, like in a sense that it could be a little more of who I am. Because
Hmm.
the boys would always say that I was a babyface in the ring, but outside the ring I was a heel. So in real life I'm a heel. But I think that the character, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing the character. The bike coming down the bike, that was my idea. I spoke with
Okay.
Hunter and I told him, you know what? I know Eddie had a car and the rider car, and that they already did that. But how about a bike? And I remember he telling me in NXT, he was like, a bicycle. I was like, it's not a mountain bike. It's not. I'm like, it's like a lowrider bike. So I
Yeah.
remember that I showed him the idea, and that's how everything came about of me coming down in the bike with Camacho. And I really enjoyed
Yeah.
because I got to work with a lot of the guys. I got to work Christian. I got to work Kofi, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, all the guys that that they were performing amazing during that time. I got to wrestle with them and work with them. So it was a lot of
Mhm.
fun doing that. But I've always felt that I belong under a mask. That's who I am. That's my
Mhm.
essence. That's my
Mhm.
culture. So I feel more comfortable in that sense. And it's funny every time you put a mask on, like it attracts people. That
Mhm.
it's that attraction. Like today, I was able to. I went to a store here in El Paso, Foot Locker, and I went to get some sneakers, and they were, they hooked me up. Foot Locker hooked me up. So I go in there, but without the mask, I just had my face mask on, and I asked whatever, and then all of a sudden they I'm gonna take a picture. I was like, hey, can I take a picture with you guys? Because I want to post it. And I put on the thing, and they were in shock.
Nice.
And then this
Love
kid
it.
comes from outside and then starts like, hey, my brother loves you, and we love you. Hey, that's amazing, and this and that. And so I think
Yeah.
the mask it has that magic. The mask, when you
Oh,
put on
for
the mask,
sure.
it's something. Something clicks in people, and it's just like a
It's like
different persona.
a superhero feel to it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. How speaking of Camacho, how was it working with Camacho? And now, it's interesting that he, transitioned into Tongaloa. For the past 5 or so years, been one of the best
Yeah.
tag team wrestlers in New Japan. So that
Yeah.
was an interesting transition for him.
Yeah. Tevita Fifita. That's his real
Hmm.
name.
Hmm.
I used to call him Tevita Fifita Fajita, and but he's one of the nicest people you could ever meet in the world. He's just an
Hmm.
amazing person, just a great guy. It was really easy to work with him. No ego, nothing. That I want to be this. No, he was just there to work, perform, have an amazing feel for the crowd, and he was one of the first people to ever talk to me when I first got to the
Nice.
company. When I
Nice.
first got to back in the day to FCW, it
Hmm.
was him, Tevita, it was Brodus, and Tamina were the first ones to ever invited me to go out to eat and
Wow.
start learning of where I come from and who I was. So and then we ended up working together, and now I just see him, in New Japan doing amazing things and
Hmm.
getting the opportunity that he deserves. So I'm very
Yeah.
happy for him.
Yeah. He's deceptively big too. Like
Oh, and he's
his
so strong.
yeah, his like the television presence of him doesn't match like real life. I met him once.
Okay.
I was covering I do coverage and journalism during WrestleMania weekend.
Okay.
And we were this I think this was a few years back. I think it was the 34, I think in New Orleans or maybe New York, one of them. But they were doing a joint show with Ring of Honor, New Japan, and he was there. And I was I'm 6'1", I'm a big guy, I'm very muscular dude,
Yeah.
240 pounds. And so, I'm a big dude and I'm intimidating to a lot of people. And, I was next to him. I'm like, man, this big dude, like, who is this man?
He's huge, man, and he's one of the strongest guys
Yeah.
that I've ever met. So, but also
Nice.
he's one of the nicest, mellow guys. He doesn't get mad. He doesn't get So I don't think I would ever want to get him mad. I used to pick on him a lot, like playing around with him and things like
Yeah.
that, because I knew he loved me. But other than that, I don't think if I really knew him, I would play around with him at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruchi's asking, what do you guys think of Dominic Mysterio? Have you been following his career?
I think it's great. I think it's great what finally happened. That him and his dad Ray have become
Mhm.
tag team champions. I actually spoke with Ray a couple of days ago when I came back to the ring on the Friday. I texted him and we were texting, and then he called me like in
Nice.
really early in the morning. We were talking, and he was just telling me that he was very happy for me, and I told him that I was very happy for him to finally get that opportunity to show his kid to the world, to be able to
Hmm.
see this kid. He's actually grown up in television with us. We saw him, when he was doing those storylines with Eddie Guerrero, and then now
Hmm.
he's this
I'm your
like this
poppy.
exactly now he's this like he's bigger than me and Ray probably
Right.
combined together. And
Exactly.
it's just great to see him be able to develop, as his career goes along. And obviously, some people may say that he still needs a lot, but that's how you learn. There's no other way.
Hmm.
There's the only thing you're gonna learn in the practice room. The other stuff you're gonna learn it as you go. Being able
Hmm.
to be in front of a crowd or in a ring, or where you have to be able to perform. And I think he's doing an amazing job. Obviously, he's a young kid that still learning a lot, and but he has the motivation, he has the passion for wrestling, and I think he's gonna do an amazing job.
Hmm.
He already became a tag champ. He made history with his father, with the first father and son duel.
Yep.
Hopefully one day me and my son can be the second duel.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I agree. They really put him in. It was really on the job training for him because they put him right into the fire.
Yep.
One of his early, as an adult, one of his early feuds or angles was involved in the Brock Lesnar angle with
Yeah.
Brock and Mysterio, and he was a part of that. And then his first, as far as competition was Seth Rollins.
Yep.
SummerSlam, they that was his first match, and I'm like, oh, yeah, they really put him into a into a quite a bit at a young age. So, but he learned very quickly. So yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
young, so it's good.
yeah, for sure. What was the backstage reaction when Jinder Mahal became the WWE champion?
I was there. I think a lot of us were. It's always an amazing story when you see the underdog, somebody you never would expect to get to the top. Like Jinder, like Drew, like some of the like Kofi Kingston. Those
Mm-hmm.
those stories are just amazing of guys persevering and just because they left the company and then he came back.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to perform in a way that the company wanted them to be the top guy. And Jinder's a very nice guy also. I cannot say
Mm-hmm.
nothing bad about him. He has always been cool since I've met him. We worked for many times, and he worked really hard to get his physique better to that level that he wanted to perform also. So I think it was an awesome feeling for a lot of us. The reaction was great. The boys were
Mm-hmm.
happy. Everybody was really happy. I think for me it was one of those things like, man, if he can do it, why not me? And that motivates you to keep going and trying to achieve your goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I've chatted with Jinder a few times, and he's a very nice guy. So very professional. Um, how did it feel to win the NXT Tag Team Championship with Kalisto?
Oh, that was amazing, man. That was one of those amazing feelings. It was funny because I'll tell you a story. I think I've told you before, but before we went out to doing that match against the Ascension, I remember that like we were warming up outside, like behind Gorilla, and we were warming up, and Kalisto's moving around like all nervous, and I'm like, "Hey man, are you nervous?" He's like, "Yeah, and I'm really nervous," and I'm like, "Well, you should be. This is the most important match of your life." And he's
Yeah,
like, "Oh," and then the music hits, so we have to go. I didn't let him think. He didn't have
yeah,
time to think. I told him, so we just went out and then we performed. And
yeah.
when we won, it was just the culmination of our work, of our hard work,
Hmm.
and I think the crowd was really into what we were doing, and we had dethroned the Ascension during that time, or maybe to this day, they have been the longest reigning tag team champions in NXT history. So we got to beat them, and we got to
Hmm.
go on to the main roster. I think in the main roster we could have done a lot more. We
Hmm.
didn't really have that opportunity to fulfill our destiny and
Hmm.
do and become champions. But being NXT champions is one of those things that Nobody can ever take it away.
That's right.
I have one of those titles in my collection as
Oh,
a
nice.
as memorabilia, and it's every time I see it, I'm like, man, nobody can take that away, no matter what
That's right.
happens. I was
That's
an
right.
NXT tag team champ. I was an SCW, tag team champ. Also, I never got an
Mm,
opportunity to won, something individually. But at the end of the day, I spent 10 years in the company, and I'm just very grateful and happy to have done something that I love for that amount of time.
for sure. Absolutely. How'd you get your start in the business? How was your time performing in Colorado?
Well, I started up in just asking, where can I train, what I need to become a professional wrestler. I'm a first generation wrestler, so I had to, slowly, build myself into what I wanted to become. And in Ciudad Juarez, I was born in El Paso, but I was raised in Ciudad Juarez. I started asking, where can I train? Who can I train with? So then some people guide me to Victor Ojeda, who was my teacher, my first teacher in wrestling. He passed away last year, and
Mm,
he was the one that taught me the basic of lucha libre, and that's how I started, just by asking, where can I train, and then as my career went along, I think my performance was the best thing that I could do to showcase who I was and what I wanted to accomplish,
mhm.
and I performed in Colorado, and like you were saying, how was your time performing? It was awesome. Every time we used to go to Denver, Colorado Springs, and I just had a great time. The weather was always nice when we were over there, and the crowd was awesome. The only thing was the elevation.
Mm,
That was kind of I remember I used to have to go do my mask a little bit up, like, and then continue work and continue wrestling. It was one of those things that I had to, like, in a sense, like, administer my cardio, because during the match I was like running and doing all this
yeah.
stuff, and then I would have to, like, come to a time where I would have to, like, okay, I need to breathe a little bit, need to breathe,
Yeah.
because then, like, the next step of the next part of the match is coming, so I had to,
Hmm.
in a sense, always time myself in a match, but it was awesome. But yeah, the elevation is just crazy over there.
Yeah. The Rocky Mountains over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
James, huge fan of yours. I always play as you in the WWE video games. My question is, did you ever get to work with Rey Mysterio? That's always been my Sin Cara dream match.
Yes, it's it's one of those things. He was my idol, one of my idols. Rey Mysterio, and I got to wrestle with him. A few times. We were in a battle royal in one of the WrestleManias in New Orleans. I got to be a tag team with him a few times. It was El Torito, Los Matadores, and myself and Ray. I remember we did. It was some match. There's some pictures of us, before the match and after the match, and he's always been the nicest guy. He's one of those guys that you can talk to, you can approach, and he always has something nice to say to you or help you, and
Hmm.
it's just a blessing to be able to call him my friend. Being somebody that I used to admire. Now he has become my friend and somebody that I can look up to, even more now. That
Hmm.
guy doesn't have not even one cell of bad person in himself. He's just the nicest guy that you could ever meet. I remember
Nice.
when my son turned 8 years old. I told him, hey, we're gonna go to California. You want to go to Disneyland? You want to go to Legoland? And he's like, no,
Hmm.
no, just take me to Rey Mysterio's house. I was like, what? I was like, how do you know? It's like, well, he has a documentary where he talks about where he lives, and so I remember I called Ray. I was like, hey, you know what? We're gonna go to California. I'm gonna take my son, and he wants to meet you. He wants to go to your house. He's like, yeah, just give me a call when you go here. So we
Hmm.
ended up calling him, and we went to his house. He showed my son his house, and he gave him like cards and action figures and original masks, signed it. It was just an awesome experience for my son.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Let's see, a couple more. Let's see. This is a good one. Alan's asking, what do you think what's wrong with Cain Velasquez's WWE career?
Well, they never give really, they never really give him an opportunity. He was like one and done,
Yeah, he was
and
injured too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think if it would have been good if he was able to maybe go to the performance center and train, for even for a year, maybe 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
get himself,
Agreed.
ready and injury free, get ready, learn, what the company wanted out of him, and to be able to perform in front of the crowd. But I think it was it's hard to say because it was only one match, so we never got to
Right.
really see what he could do
Mhm.
or may have become. We know that
He
he
was
has
good in
talent.
Mexico, though. He was decent in
Yeah.
Mexico. I watched I saw some matches there with
Yeah.
him in Mexico. He's pretty decent. So
Yeah, with on Triple A and Triple Mania, but I think it was just that we needed more he had more time
agreed.
to slowly get into the swing of things
Hmm.
and just adapt to whatever WWE wanted out of him.
Hmm. They put him in a again, man. These people being thrust into Brock Lesnar. We talked about Dominic and Kane too.
I know, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Here's another person went right into Brock Lesnar. So yeah, that's tried by fire, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
That's a way to initiate yourself in WWE. Last match. Why do you think WWE couldn't find a spot for Samoa Joe?
Samoa Joe, I mean, he's done amazing things everywhere he's been, since I got to work with him a few times and very easy to work with, one of the guys that knows about the business. I think it's just they'll find a spot for whoever they want to find a spot. Simple as that.
It's true.
There's
Yeah.
no other way of putting it. I'm not gonna say like it's because of this, because of that. They're gonna find a spot if they're interested in you, and that's the way it is. That's the way
Mhm.
it is, unfortunately. And maybe for them, they lost interest in that, and finally, he got released. But he's gonna be fine. He's gonna do well. He's one of those guys that he's been in the business all his life, so he understands how things work, and he'll survive.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking on that, we're going to close with this. Kind of on this note, recently you mentioned talking about how you felt led to leave the company because of Paul Heyman saying that Sin Cara was there. For those who don't know that story, for those viewers here, kind of go into that story as far as just your release from the WWE and just how that just really kind of derailed your motivation there.
Yeah, I have been thinking for some time now, for like a year, couple of years, where I was like,
Mhm.
I wasn't happy anymore. It's a very tough thing to say. As a performer, as a wrestler, being in the company that you had dreamed about of being, performing for them and traveling, and then having to realize that dream was not there anymore because they
Mhm.
had never really given me an opportunity. So during that day, it was the last day that I did the match against Drew McIntyre when
Mhm.
my match in
Mhm. I I think you lost me. I think I lost you as far as sound is concerned. Your last match, your Max in Texas, is the last thing I heard you say, and then you went out on me. Nope, can't hear
There
you.
we go. There we go.
Yeah,
There
okay,
we
here we go. Yep, yep.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Yeah,
No
yeah. Well,
problem.
during that day, we were in England. We were in Manchester, and I remember that I went to talk to Corano, and I told him, that I wasn't good, that I wanted to leave, that I wasn't happy anymore, that I wanted my release, and they said that they were gonna think about it, that I needed to talk to the boss, and I told him, okay, let me talk to him. He was like, well, you have to make an appointment. I was like, make an appointment. Like I've been here for 10 years. You can't give me 5 minutes of your time.
Right.
So then I ended up going there, and then I went to talk to Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes said, talk to Paul Heyman. He's the head writer. So I went to talk to Heyman. Heyman was sitting down in catering, and I went up to him. I was like, you know what? Like this is I want to know what you guys want to do with me because today I have a match, but it's not even a match. Drew
Hmm.
McIntyre is just I'm just go out there. He's just gonna kill me. That's it.
Hmm.
I'm like, that's not a match. It doesn't help him. Doesn't help me. Doesn't help the crowd. They're not gonna be excited about anything. So he said, and then I told him, what are the plans with Sin Cara? He's like, well, no, there's no plans. He told me straight out like that. And I'm like, Sin Cara's dead. And I was like, what do you mean he's dead? I'm like, yeah, he's dead. I'm like, well, and I told him, I was like, well, if you say that I'm dead, that Sin Cara's dead, it's because you guys killed him. You guys had never given me an opportunity to succeed, to really showcase who I am, tell
Hmm.
my story to the people so they can get behind me. And he was like, "Well," and I told him, "What? Let's do this. Let's try something like Spider-Man with people, without outside the ring. I'm this normal person, but when I get into the ring, I put on the mask and I become this persona. Well, no, then you're not Sin Cara." And I was like, "Well, let's do an open mouth mask. That way you can see my facials and my well, no, you like." coming out with excuse after an excuse. You know, and that's what I'm telling you. Like every time when if they want to find a spot for you, they're gonna find a spot no matter what. With me, it was one of those things that they didn't really care anymore, and he didn't care. Every writer, every person that comes in always has his favorites. You know, favorites favorite here, the ones that they pick, and that's it. And it's, I'm not lying. You guys can see the product. You guys see the product, and you realize that it's always the same people all the time. And it's just sad because there's a lot of those guys that are very talented. They're very, very talented and don't get the opportunity to succeed. You know, and for, a perfect example that I've always said is Cesaro. Cesaro to this day, to me, I consider him the best performer in wrestling, the best wrestler. And he's never gotten that opportunity to really showcase who he really is and get that title that we all want him to get.
Yeah, and then he got a main event spot. They gave him a little push for a few months, and he had a nice spot with Seth Rollins and had a good WrestleMania moment. Then he gets a good spot with Roman Reigns and gets a match at WrestleMania Backlash, a main event match. And then after the main event, Seth Rollins comes out, looks at Roman Reigns, and just beats the brakes off of Cesaro. I'm like, you couldn't take that. You couldn't give Cesaro his main event moment and just wait until like the next SmackDown to do that. That made no sense to me whatsoever. That to me killed the main event. The main event was a really, really good match, and that was totally pointless to main event. And just automatically, that moment to me, it killed his main event push. And I'm like, come on now, you can't just do stuff like that. It doesn't make sense.
Well, they always do the things that don't make sense. If you give an idea that makes sense, then it's not good. It doesn't have to make sense to give an idea. It's the opposite.
because it's not their idea, it's your idea. They don't want to put your idea over.
Very true.
Yeah. All right, let them know about what's going on, man, and plug your social media.
Yeah, my social media is at Cinta de Oro. That's Twitter, that's Instagram. My Facebook is Cinta de Oro Oficial, and also my YouTube channel, Cinta de Oro Oficial. I'm also a part of esports league of video games. I'll give you guys more information there. It's the NACL league, and I'm just excited to be able to be a part of this amazing league where we're going to be able to play some video games with the people, and I'm also going to be able to chat a lot more with my fans. We're creating a Twitch because I'm able to have a Twitch account.
Yeah,
so I'll be able to talk to all my fans, be able to chat and say more and more stories about myself. People that want to know more about me will be there. I'll let you guys know on my social media. I'll give you guys more information down the road. So I wanna thank you, Doc, for having me today. I want to thank all the people for tuning in for us, and hopefully we get to chat another time.
Sounds good, man. It was a pleasure. Have a good night, my man.
You too. God bless. Thank you.
You got